Hello and welcome to the Marlow Fantasy Football League Week 7 News and Review. I'm your host, Jeff Meadows. As always, we start off with results from the first 7 weeks and some predictions for next week. Starting at the top, we've got Beats and Seeds. Now, don't let the plant names fool you. These guys are animals. They've really surprised a lot of teams this year in their march to the league's best record of 6-1. Of course, none of the guys they've played have endured the surprise of, say, ordering a Reuben and receiving the sorriest hippie excuse for a sandwich you've ever seen, but they've still had to deal with bitter, gut-wrenching defeats, which are almost as bad as the sandwiches at the co-op in Montana. Beats and Seeds' only loss this year comes to Obamacare, and since that by design destroys healthy young adults, you can't really even count that one against them. Still, next week's challenger, Nate is Back, should be too much for Beats and Seeds, who are missing notorious vegan Arian Foster, to handle. Speaking of Nate is Back, they've got an identical record of 6-1, despite their semantically incorrect team name. Eponymous kicker Nate Keating has been sidelined with a groin injury since Week 4, and he was cut from the team last week. But morale is high as they've been able to ride the league's softest strength of schedule to 6 victories. Nate fans have got to be happy with their record so far, and with all starters a go for this week's matchup, you've got to like their chances to take sole possession of first place. In third place are the Triple Entendres, last year's league runners-up. Reeling from their defeat in last year's finals, the team was renamed for this year, a move which probably has more meaning than any of us can imagine. The season started poorly for the Triples, losing to a stat correction heartbreaker in Week 1, and then getting doubled up on by the Pigskin Trolls in Week 3. Since then, though, they've won 4 straight. Still, the coach is going to need a lot from his team if he's going to weather the upcoming storm. They're facing Obamacare, Beats and Seeds, and the league's only female-led team, the She-Fans. Let's see how well he can manage her. In fourth place, leading the Out-of-Town Idiots division is Obamacare. Recently going 5-4 in the Supreme Court League, Obamacare is right on track for a similar record in the Marlow League at 4-3. But that winning record is especially impressive given that they've faced the league's toughest strength of schedule. Luckily for Obamacare, things are going to be getting easier from here on out with games upcoming against Basement Dwellers Man Bear Pigs and YOLO for Life, plus division games against the rest of the Out-of-Town Idiots. Next up is our highest-rated newcomer to the league, the She-Fans. The She-Fans recently snapped a 3-game losing streak with a dramatic 80-point comeback, and they've now won 2 in a row to climb above 500 and into the playoff picture. The She-Fans' success stems largely from middle-round draft pick Robert Griffin III, who has put the team on his back, scoring a nice 40-point game in Week 6 and maintaining an average normally reserved for the elite quarterbacks. The fans are happy with their record so far, especially considering some dreadful performances out of ex-star running back C.J. Noke. But some questions linger for the manager regarding player safety. She was quoted during an interview as saying, "Everyone should get concussions." She was referring, of course, to RG3, who suffered a game-ending concussion the week before his 40-point performance the next week. But still, league officials can't be happy to hear a team owner suggesting that kind of training regimen for her players. Next up, we have an auto-draft masterpiece, Schwer's Bears. They've got the lowest point total in the league, and they were sent to the record book a few weeks ago for the largest margin of defeat. That's right, 97 points. Despite a few injuries and an overall poor showing by the Bears players, the team has still managed a respectable 4-3 record, and the manager swears he will not go down without a fight. And now, we have a word from our sponsor. And now we move on to the teams that haven't been doing so well. League newcomer Flavor Savers look scary on paper, and they did start the season out well. They've tasted victory 3 times so far, winning by over 40 points each time. But so far they've been unable to savor a second victory in a row, which would really be a problem if they do manage to make the playoffs. Look, this is a team that really needs to diversify. They've got over 75% of their points coming from just 3 NFL teams, the Falcons, Ravens, and Chiefs. Putting so many eggs in so few baskets is what's leading to this team's ups and downs. Look for the Sabres to reach out for some trades in the upcoming weeks. In 8th place, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. These guys have played almost every Chief on the roster, besides of course the only 2 good ones, Jamal Charles and Dwayne Bowe. Look, there is still hope. The Chiefs have got the best quarterback and the best wide receiver in the league right now, but what they lack is depth. If they trade down in those positions for a couple of solid guys, they can stop playing 9th-string Chiefs, get their arrowhead pointing in the right direction, and stop getting barbecued every week. In 9th place, drafted by the computer and managed in a most peculiar way, we have Team Faceroll. Now, despite making the most lineup gaffes in the league, let's not forget that Faceroll was actually 3-0 at one point. Now 3-4, they could actually be in pretty decent shape for the rest of the season, as most of their bye weeks have already passed. Rounding out teams that have any hope for the rest of the season are the Pigskin Trolls, who, at 2-5, have fallen down to 10th place. This team's draft strategy was unique, not drafting a quarterback until many teams had selected 2. While that did allow them to select running backs and wide receivers with their first several picks, it really hasn't translated to a lot of points on the scoreboards, and most importantly, to a lot of marks in that W column. That's because their first 2 picks, Darren McFadden and DeMarco Murray, the big double Ds, have really just been playing like boobs, with neither cracking the top 15 at their position. Couple that with the second lowest score at the quarterback position, and you've got a recipe for, well, 2-5. I do like the recent acquisition of quarterback Andrew Luck, and now only time will tell if that will be enough to turn their fortune around. Last and most certainly least, we arrive in the cellar with a pair of 1-win teams. First, there's the Man-Bear Pigs. Look, it's not easy going first to worst, but this super serial team is putting on a clinic. This is a team with a quarterback by committee between Ben Roethlisberger, a guy with no offensive line, and Phillip Rivers, a colorblind asshole with 9 picks through 6 games. Despite maintaining firm control over the waiver wire, the Man-Bear Pigs haven't managed to improve much this season, passing on breakout running back Alfred Morris for donut machine Jonathan Dwyer, who of course had his breakout game the week after he was dropped. This is surprising since it was the Man-Bear Pigs' willingness to drop and add players that propelled them to the championship last year. You've got to wonder if there's something else on the manager's mind, and wow, that makes me a sad panda. Finally, there's YOLO for Life, an acronym-inspired abomination of a team. Exuded by morons, the acronym stands for You Only Live Once, and it's used to excuse the making of questionable decisions, like for instance, drafting Tony Romo. After the debacle in which the team couldn't get past a struggling triple entendre side in Week 6, detractors were spotted holding signs bearing a slightly different acronym, YOWO, standing for, of course, You Only Won Once. Still, the manager refuses to trade and remains confident in his team, saying things like, Romo is a fine quarterback, prompting this reporter to think, you obviously lose often.